The bikers had pulled over where the highway bent toward the hills, a quiet stretch of road framed by tall grass and fading sunlight. Their motorcycles stood in a loose line, chrome catching the orange glow of evening. Laughter rolled between them, deep, easy laughter from men who had shared miles, storms, and silence together. Helmets lay on the ground, gloves tossed onto seats. For a moment, the world felt slow and harmless. Then the sound came, a sharp, broken sob, small, desperate, completely out of place. One biker turned first, his smile fading. "Did you hear that?" Before anyone could answer, a little girl burst out from behind a rusted road sign. She was barefoot, her dress dusty and torn at the hem. Her hair clung to her tear-soaked face, and her chest heaved as if she'd been running for miles. She stumbled toward them, fear driving her faster than her legs could carry her. "Please," she cried, her voice cracking. "Please help me." The laughter died instantly. Engines ticked as they cooled, loud in the sudden silence. The men, faces marked by scars, beards, and years on the road, stood frozen, unsure of what they were seeing. The girl ran straight to the tallest biker and grabbed his leather vest with both hands as if it were the only solid thing left in the world. "Please save my mom," she sobbed. "She won't wake up." The biker stiffened, then slowly knelt so he was eye level with her. His hands, huge, tattooed, usually wrapped around handlebars, shook slightly as he rested them on his knees. Hey, he said gently, his rough voice softened by concern. "You're safe now. Take a breath. Tell me your name." The girl tried, but another wave of tears came instead. She wiped her nose with her sleeve and pointed back toward the trees lining the road. "She's there," she whispered. "She told me to get help. I was scared, but I ran." One of the bikers turned away, swallowing hard. Another clenched his jaw. These were men who had faced accidents, fights, and long nights alone, but the sight of this terrified child cut deeper than any of it. "You were very brave," the kneeling biker said, placing his jacket gently around her shoulders. "Now we're going with you." The girl nodded desperately, hope flickering through her fear for the first time. And just like that, the road trip ended, replaced by something far more important. The bikers moved fast, no jokes, no wasted motion. Helmets were grabbed, engines fired up, and the quiet roadside exploded into a low thunder that made the ground tremble. One of the men lifted the little girl carefully onto the back of his bike, wrapping an extra jacket around her and securing her small hands around his waist. "Hold on tight," he said softly. "I won't let you fall." She nodded, pressing her face into his back as the bike rolled forward. The girl pointed with a shaking finger toward a narrow dirt road nearly hidden by tall weeds and broken branches. The pavement disappeared quickly, replaced by loose gravel that popped under the tires. Trees closed in around them, blocking out the sky. The sunlight thinned, turning the path into a tunnel of shadows. "Is she breathing?" one biker shouted over the engines. "Yes," the girl cried back, her voice barely carrying. "But she won't wake up." They rode faster, instinct guiding them. These men knew dangerous roads, knew how to keep balance when the ground tried to steal it. Still, every second felt too slow. Dust rose behind them, stinging their eyes. The girl's arms tightened as the forest grew darker. Then they saw it, a twisted shape at the edge of the road. Metal bent like paper. A car nose first against a thick oak tree, its windshield shattered, steam hissing from the hood. One biker cut his engine and jumped off before the bike even stopped. "Call it in," he yelled. Another biker already had his phone out, voice sharp and clear as he spoke to emergency services, giving directions as best he could. The others rushed to the car. Inside, the woman lay slumped against the steering wheel. Blood ran from a cut on her forehead, streaking down her cheek. Her chest rose shallowly, unevenly. One biker carefully checked her pulse, his fingers gentle despite their size. "She's alive," he said, relief breaking through his voice. "But not good." The girl stood frozen behind them, her eyes wide with terror. One biker turned, kneeling again, holding his arms open. She ran into him and buried her face in his chest. "You did exactly what your mom needed," he whispered, holding her tight. "Help is coming." In the distance, a siren began to wail, faint, but real. For the first time since she had run onto the highway, the girl allowed herself to believe her mother might survive, the forest seemed to hold its breath. Steam hissed from the crumpled hood, mixing with the sharp smell of oil and burned rubber. The bikers moved with quiet urgency, forming a loose circle around the wrecked car as if their presence alone could protect the woman inside. One man stood in the road, arms stretched wide, signaling any passing vehicles to slow down. Another tore strips from a clean bandana, pressing them carefully against the woman's bleeding forehead. "Stay with us, ma'am," he murmured, his voice low and steady. "Your little girl's right here." The woman didn't respond, but her fingers twitched slightly. It was enough to keep them going. One biker checked her breathing again, counting softly under his breath. Shallow, but steady. His jaw tightened. He'd seen this before, too many times. Accidents didn't wait for permission, and neither did fear. Nearby, the little girl sat on a fallen log, wrapped in a leather jacket that was far too big for her. She watched every movement, her small hands clenched together like a prayer. Each time the woman's chest rose, the girl whispered, "Mommy," as if her voice alone could keep her alive. A biker crouched beside her, helmet tucked under his arm. "You're doing great," he said gently. "The sirens you hear, that means help is almost here." "What if they're too late?" she asked, her voice barely louder than the wind in the trees. He swallowed hard. "They won't be. We've got her. And we've got you." Minutes stretched into something heavy and unreal. The sound of the sirens grew louder, then faded, then returned again, playing cruel tricks on their nerves. One biker began quietly directing traffic again when a car appeared at the far end of the road, slowing at the sight of the accident. Finally, the sirens broke through the forest for real, sharp, urgent, undeniable. "They're here," someone shouted. Red and blue lights flashed between the trees as the ambulance and patrol car pulled in. Paramedics jumped out, moving fast but focused. The bikers stepped back without being asked, giving them room, though none of them went far. As the paramedics worked, one biker kept an arm around the little girl. When they lifted the woman onto the stretcher, her eyes fluttered open for just a second. Her gaze found her daughter. "I'm here, Mom," the girl cried. "I got help." A faint smile touched the woman's lips before her eyes closed again. More than one biker turned away, blinking hard. In that moment, every mile they'd ever ridden, every tough mask they'd worn, felt small compared to what they had just helped save. The hospital hallway smelled of antiseptic and quiet hope. Fluorescent lights hummed softly overhead as the bikers stood awkwardly near the wall, leather jackets creased, boots leaving faint marks on the polished floor. They looked out of place, big men in a world of hushed voices and careful footsteps, but none of them seemed willing to leave. The little girl sat in a plastic chair, her feet swinging back and forth, still wrapped in the oversized biker jacket. One of the nurses had given her a cup of juice, but she barely touched it. Her eyes stayed fixed on the double doors where her mother had been taken. A doctor finally emerged, removing his gloves. "She's stable," he said. "You got her here in time." The words hit like a wave. One biker let out a long breath he'd been holding for hours. Another quietly bowed his head, murmuring a thank you meant for no one in particular. "Can I see her?" the girl asked, standing up quickly. In a moment, the doctor said with a smile. "She's asking for you." Tears spilled down the girl's cheeks as she ran into the room. The bikers stayed back, giving her space, but the door remained slightly open. They saw the woman's hand reach out, saw the child grasp it with both of hers. "She's okay, Mom," the girl whispered. "They helped us." The woman turned her head weakly toward the door, her eyes filling with tears when she saw the men standing there. She tried to speak, but her voice failed. One biker simply nodded, understanding everything she couldn't say. A nurse approached them gently. "Family only beyond this point." "That's fine," the tallest biker said. "We've seen enough." The little girl ran back out and hugged each of them tightly, one by one. "You're angels," she said again, her voice certain now. The biker smiled, kneeling to her level. "No, kid," he said softly. "We just listened when you asked for help." They walked out into the night together, engines starting one last time. As they rode off, the road felt different, lighter somehow. Not because it had been easy, but because it had reminded them of something simple and true. Sometimes, the loudest roar isn't an engine, it's a heart choosing kindness.